Welcome into a brand new hour of CBS Sports HQ. I'm Haley Sutton, joined by Pete Prisco and Kyle Long. Gentlemen, week 6 in the NFL has wrapped up, but we do have to start week 7, of course, with some breaking news that we will break down in just a minute. But right now, Davante Adams is on the move. He has a new home 2 weeks after requesting a trade out of Las Vegas, and it's a reunion with his former quarterback as the New York Jets have acquired Davante Adams in a trade with the Raiders. That's been confirmed by our lead insider, Jonathan Jones. There were multiple reports saying that it's a conditional third-round draft pick as compensation going to Las Vegas in the trade. It can turn into a second-rounder based on performance. The move, of course, reunites Aaron Rodgers with Adams, who both of them played together for 8 seasons in Green Bay. Now, I know what you're thinking. Like, is this going to make the Jets better? Is it going to affect the Raiders? Well, here's what Sportsline is saying, at least when it comes to the Jets' implications here. Before the trade, they were projected to have just under 8 wins. Now they're looking to go over that number at 8.2. Their playoff percentages go up. Really, everything goes up here. The AFC, just a 2.4 chance, but a Super Bowl chance, there's a little bit better hopes there at 1.2%. All right, gentlemen, so obviously that is the big news of the day today. Pete, I'm going to come to you first. I got to hear a little bit of the Pushing the Pile episode you guys were recording. You had some thoughts. What are they?
Well, why didn't they do it last week? First and foremost, they might have won the game like you said, but this has been in the works for a long time. I mean, this was going to happen. I'm surprised by the fact that it didn't happen last week. But the other part of it is, you almost got the feeling, the way Aaron Rodgers called out Mike Williams after the game, that he knew this was happening, or maybe it did happen on Monday and they just announced it today. So, you know, if you do it last week, you got the focal point of the entire organization on that, maybe taken away from the fact you have a new coach, you got to deal with the new offensive coordinator. How is he going to implement his offense? So I think they waited, they did it, they probably did it on Monday. You don't call out Mike Williams the way Aaron Rodgers called out Mike Williams on Monday night if you don't have this deal in the works. So it's a good move for the Jets. It's one they had to make.
And for me, I think it just makes too much sense for both sides of the trade here. And I'm talking both sides. I'm talking about Davante Adams coming to an offense with a quarterback that he knows. Obviously, he hasn't been able to have the volume or the quality of involvement in the offense in Las Vegas. He gets his old buddy Aaron Rodgers. And for the Jets, you get another guy outside of Garrett Wilson and Allen Lazard that you can rely on in those big downs, third downs, gotta have it drives. And you saw last night with Mike Williams the miscommunication, then Aaron Rodgers going on television and talking about what was wrong with that football play. You're not going to see that as a New York Jets fan with Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers. That's why I think it makes sense. And to your point, they could have used him last night, man. And I think it was probably already a done deal, and maybe they just didn't want to pile on too many New York Times stories. There was just too much stuff to write about last week in New York. They didn't want to add something else.
Here's the other part of the equation, Haley, is this offense is very stale.
Yeah.
And they don't move, and I've said this a lot. And when you play this style of offense, that's what Aaron Rodgers wants to play. You need 2 receivers. And Garrett Wilson is a good receiver. He's just not a number 1. He's a number 2. Now you get Davante Adams, and you don't need all that pre-snap motion. Now, you know, you still should probably use more than what they do. They're like 30th in the league in pre-snap motion, and they started to show a little bit more of it against the Bills. But the bottom line is, if you're going to run that offense, have 2 receivers. Like Peyton Manning used to have Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. He had 2. Well, they now have 2, and that's what this does for the offense.
And one more thing. You bring in a guy like Davante Adams. You obviously want to throw him the football, but what was the issue last night, and a large part has been the issue for the Jets? It's the protection. So now you get 2 quality receivers out there with Wilson and with Adams, and you can still have a 3-receiver set with Lazard, but you need to focus on protecting that quarterback. Aaron's taken way too many hits. If he's on the ground this much, he may not finish the season.
Yeah, and just looking at the connection they had, I know we had a full screen in there, but Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams have had 615 passes together, over 7,500 total yards when they connect. And this is really what got me here. 76 total touchdowns between the 2 of them if you include the postseason. So obviously, is there a caveat to that?
Well, they were young men back then, though. They're not young men anymore. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is 40, and Davante Adams is 31. And 31 for a receiver is relatively old. And he's never been a burner. He's always done it with his craftiness, his ability to run routes. But still, when you're not fast and you start to slow down even more, that could become a problem.
Well, it remains to be seen what they're going to look like now that they are both on the same team again in New York. I did want to add as well, our Jonathan Jones, NFL insider, did tweet that trade was essentially in place before kickoff last night. Davante Adams was on a flight this morning for his medical, so it kind of sounded like, to your point, they were kind of already in the work. Let's grade this trade, though. Kyle, I'll come to you first here. What grade do you give the Jets, and what do you give the Raiders in this trade?
Well, I got to give the Jets an A. I mean, you go out and you give the entire reason for your season, Aaron Rodgers, his best buddy, Davante Adams. This gives you your best chance to quell some of the issues that we've seen with the Jets team. It's been the offense. The defense has looked pretty good, except for, getting bent over a little bit in the first quarter there by the Bills. But here's the deal. You got to make your offense better. So they went for broke getting Aaron Rodgers. They signed guys in the offensive line. They brought in all his buddies. Let's bring another buddy in. It's not like we're going to do all this and not try to win the Super Bowl. Let's make it happen in New York. So I give him an A.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers became the first general manager to play quarterback in the National Football League last night, so he had that going for him. He wanted this done, and it got done. And the reason Joe Douglas, the general manager, can make this move is because he's not going to be there if they don't win. He's going out the door just like Robert Saleh did, so they have to win. So why not give up
all their chips into the middle here?
You're in, all in. Why not give up a conditional 3 that could become a 2? And the conditions supposedly are if he's on the roster on the AFC Championship game or Super Bowl roster, that would become a 2, or if he's voted first or second team All-Pro, which is highly unlikely considering he missed time. So it's probably going to be a 3 unless they get to the Super Bowl. But they had to make this move. It's a no-brainer for him. My grade, A for the Jets, F for the Raiders. Yeah. And because the Raiders went out and they made a move to go get him, and then 2 years later you're getting rid of him. So it's just a bad situation.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see what the Raiders look like going forward too, now that they're missing a key piece. We'll see if that hamstring injury gets any better now that he's out.
Yeah, wink,
that thing starts to feel pretty good.
I bet it feels good next time.
He lands at LaGuardia and he's running.
I'm young again. I'm not 31 with a bad hamstring. I'm 25 with a healthy one.
So that's the move that we saw on offense. Of course, that breaking news with Davante Adams going to the Jets. We also had a little bit of news on the defensive side. Hassan Reddick, we finally have an update here. He gets approved for permission to seek a trade. Pete, is this kind of like best case scenario for everybody?
Well, it was a bad move on their part, but not getting a deal done when you make a trade to go get him. I mean, the Jets made a major mistake on that. If you're going to trade for a guy, and you trade for a guy with the idea you're going to get a new contract, get him signed. Now, the flip side of that is, Hassan Reddick, let me give you a little words of advice here. You only have so many earning years in your body. Don't give away $4.5–5 million. Get signed. Go play football. I mean, every single time I see it's almost $1 million a game you're leaving on the table. You'll never get that money back, ever. So I think both sides made major mistakes in this whole thing. Jets, if you trade for him, you should have given him a new deal. Reddick, they offered you a new deal. It wasn't what you wanted, but you probably still should have taken it.
Yeah, and his representation decided to part ways with him, what was it, just last week, and now he's got Drew Rosenhaus. It's no surprise that things are rolling now for Hassan Reddick. Drew Rosenhaus, one of the best in the industry, and to have him on a roster would make a team immediately better. I think about some of those teams, who could they be? But Hassan Reddick, to your point, your earning potential, it dwindles every single day. I mean, your ability to go out there and be the 10-sack getter, the double-digit sack getter, it's non-existent when you're not on the field. So for Hassan Reddick, good. You get an opportunity to potentially go somewhere where you would like to be.
Here's the other part of that equation, though. If you're trading for him, do you ask yourself how much does he really love it if he left all that money on the table? And I mean, seriously, that's a legitimate question. You're on a team. You remember, they went into the season thinking they were a Super Bowl contender, and they got him to be their pass rusher. And here they are at 2-4, and he hasn't taken a snap. So if you're looking on the outside, aren't you a little concerned about Reddick?
Yeah, I mean, where's your head at? And you know how some of these guys are, these big earners in the NFL. Sometimes they think they've become bigger than the game. Yeah. And when I think about the roster, the situation, he had an opportunity to go in with the Jets. I mean, take the record out right now. They're 2-4 right now, but they were 0-0 at a certain point in time with a healthy Aaron Rodgers. It was kind of disappointing to see both sides of that equation not get the deal done. And now we're sitting here with a muddy, cloudy situation. Where is Reddick going to end up?
It is certainly a mess, but that's the Jets. We've got plenty more to talk about here on CBS Sports HQ. The fellas are going to hang out with us as we've got power rankings coming up. I'm curious to see where the Jets are in Pete's power rankings this week. But In the meantime, make sure you keep it locked on CBS Sports HQ for all things NFL. We keep you updated with highlights, scores, news, all the things that we have got for you here on HQ.